Morning, it's Ken Barrett, Laundromat How To. Got a couple of the old Huebsch dryers along here. What I had over the last few weeks is you'll run along fine, everything will be great, and then it just seems like one after another they just start dropping out. So I'd swapped a few parts around here and there to get them going and got the parts I needed on order. So what I've done along here now is I went along, opened everything up, started them all, make sure they light and the burners are coming on and stuff, and then marked on them just what the issues are. So you see on here, I got this particular one here, it just stays on. You start it, it stays on all the time. I went along and just unplugged everything right now. But I got a couple of igniter issues, I got a couple of broken start switches. So what I'm going to do is just work through each one of those, and they're not that hard to swap parts out. I've got all the power unplugged right now, and we'll dive into it. Alright, so the first one I got labeled on here, I got an igniter and a start switch. So I'd actually stripped this igniter out of here a week or so ago. What I'll do in these is I'll just make a list and put it up. You've got a spot up inside here where you can sit some things. You want to make sure you're not anywhere near your burner boxes over on this side. This is a pretty safe area, but I'll just put a piece of paper in there if I take some parts out, or if I know what the issues are, just so I know, when I open it up, just what I need. So the igniter is going to go up in here. It's pretty simple. Screws on the back there. You plug this wire on to your, goes over to your igniter, basically a spark plug, and then you got your control wires there. The other issue I got with this one is the start switch. You can see when I push that, focus there, it's just going up and down, but it's not switching. So I've got one of these dryers that I'm going to dip a few more parts off of. I'm not sure if I'll get it running again one day, but we'll do what we can. But right now I'm going to swap that part switch out, and we'll get this one running. So these are pretty easy to get into. I'm just going to take a look around, see what you need. There's a couple little tiny screws on the front there. You take those out, lift this piece off. When you're swapping the wires out, what I normally do is just take a picture of it. That way it's easy to match it up as to what came out, what's going back in. So get those screws out, swap the switch out, put an igniter in, and fire this up. These switches here, they come out pretty easy. You take those two screws off in the front, and this switch is actually a separate piece. So this connection's here, it's just there as a connector and a bracket. So that lifts out of there, and as you can see, that's just flopping around, not doing anything anymore. I've got the new stolen switch here. You can hear it clicking, you can see it springs back where it should be. This one's just floppy. So I mean, you can only imagine how many thousands of times that switch has been pushed and time's up on it. So just take that out. The wire is pretty easy. Got a brown and yellow wire, just put them back on the same sides. I'll line stuff up, just based on the switch itself. This is actually a new switch, came out of another dryer that I had a problem with before, and then we've got another issue now. But yeah, these just pull off and push them back on, and then screw that back in. We'll take that old switch, put it in the other dryer, and just leave the note in there as to what the issues are, just so you don't have a hole in the front of it and it just doesn't look all tore up. I mean, you just need to get the part number out there. You can order one, but you don't need to leave the old parts out. You want to make the front of the dryer, make it look well. Even though it might not be running, you take parts off the inside of the back. It's easy to just mark it out saying the parts are on order, but you don't want to make it look like it's been cannibalized. Okay, so we got our igniter up in there. When you put those in, they're pretty easy to connect. Again, you just connect your wire to it. I've actually got it loose in there because I got to get a screw for up in there. But the connector on the side, you just want to make sure it's pushed in well. Line up you want to make sure it's in the right direction. These are pretty easy because in these ones there's actually one wire that doesn't have a connection on it. So it shows on here as open. So there's no wire there, so when you look in the pins, you look in the connector, you'll see there's no wire in the back of the connector. So just make sure you line it up right. When you're putting on your spark plug wire, make sure it snaps into place. You push it in, you want to make sure it's snapped right in, or it'll vibrate loose on you. And we got a new switch in here, lights on, hit the button. Got a flame, a little more orange than it could be, but work on that another time. So this one's up and running. Take the tape off the front. If you keep a logbook on your equipment, it's a really good thing. Keep track of the equipment numbers and what you do on what days. It just helps you track if you've got ongoing specific issues with one certain machine or a certain part. So this one's up and running. Got a few more to go. Okay, so like I said there, that one's up and running. That whole repair probably took maybe 15 minutes. Go through, unplug the, check it, see what's going on. Once you know what's happening, make sure you unplug it. You don't have to worry about these ones, you know, especially these older ones. A lot of them are 120. So any of the wires in there, you're going to get a pretty whack off of. The new ones, a lot of those are stepped down to 10 volts and stuff. So you may or may not get a little shock off it, depending on you got a bit of water in your hands or you got a good circuit. But normally, you're not going to get much off of those. But you still, there's little capacitors and stuff in there. You're best to shut the power off and before you work on it. But like I said, in a few minutes, had that part switched out, had the new igniter in up there, and we're ready to go. Simple repair.